If you don't have knowledge, it's easy to put right knowledge when there is no knowledge. Avidya is not lack of knowledge. Avidya is a perverted knowledge. It's a knowledge which is wrong, and it's very difficult to change the wrong knowledge into the right knowledge. We're completely convinced I'm this body, and the meaning of life is to fulfill the demands of this body. Happiness means to fulfill all the desires which I have. All these wrong ideas are there. And these wrong ideas is the cause of our misfortune. Ultimately, we're suffering in this world, life after life after life, because we don't have the proper understanding, the proper knowledge. And therefore, this Vasanta Panchami is such an important day because this is the day of knowledge. And if we ask ourselves, what is the difference? What is the feature? What is the main characteristics of all these great stalwart devotees or knowledgeable person who appeared on this day or any other day of the world or the year? What is their main characteristic? How you can say what is the essence of knowledge? Which one skill ensures that you have proper knowledge? What is the difference between improper knowledge or avidya and the proper knowledge of vidya or gyan? So this one skill is very interesting because this is the foundational skill of the whole Vedic culture. This skill is called meditation. You know, if you ask any student, and I was told that there are 50,000 students in this great Manipal University. If you ask any one of them what is knowledge, ultimately the answer will be boiled down to the wrong one. Knowledge means information. You get the book, you try to somehow or other download the content of the book into your brain, and then after exam, you again download this content and you're happy again. So the wrong idea, which is very prevalent and prominent in modern civilization, is that knowledge means information. And therefore, because knowledge means information, now people start thinking about artificial intelligence and this and that. And yes, artificial intelligence has a lot of information, much more information than we have. The only thing which artificial intelligence cannot do, it cannot meditate. Meditation is not the skill which is the characteristic of artificial intelligence. And the real knowledge is the knowledge which is revealed to you through meditation. The knowledge means realization of this knowledge, internal realization of this knowledge, and ultimately it culminates in understanding that I am soul. Not just theoretical understanding, not just bookish knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Hinas Mindya Dhade Kumaram Yavanam Jara. No, I'm not talking about this knowledge. And unfortunately, even in this con, oftentimes we think that knowledge means information. You know, what is Bhakti Shastri? Bhakti Shastri means you have to know 25 shlokas and you're Mahapandit in this con from Bhagavad Gita. No. It has nothing to do with knowledge. Yes, it's a good starting point for meditation. Why do we learn shlokas by heart? Why we are trying to do this? Because ultimately we want to internalize this knowledge, and ultimately we want to see the world through the prism of this knowledge, through the lens of this knowledge. And meditation means exactly this. When you replace the wrong lens of avidya, through which you see the world presently, with the right lens of proper knowledge, so that you will be able to see how the soul is suffering in this world, how the soul is struggling in this world, how the soul is ultimately wants to be happy, and how the soul is seeking for God. So meditation means, yes, knowledge starts with information. Information is a good starting point with the knowledge, because knowledge starts with Shravana. You hear. But again, even hearing, when we talk Vedic culture, when we talk devotional culture and devotional understanding, even hearing in the proper cultural way is different than the hearing which you do in the audience when you sit somewhere on the lecture in the university. Again, their main idea is just to have some bits of information. The lecturer is giving you some bits of information, and you're taking these bits of information, put it on your hard drive, and make sure that this is somewhere in the memory, long-term memory, at least long enough to hold till the exam. And after that, doesn't matter so much. But when we hear in devotional understanding, when we hear the Shravanam, which is Shrotavyam. This is I'm trying to explain Upanishad, the verse from Brhad Aranyaka Upanishad. Atmavare Shrotavyam Mantavyam Atmavare Drashtavyam. Actually, this verse starts with the very important maxim, with the very important statement, aphorism, that you have to see Atma. You have to see your own soul, you have to see God. You are not supposed to be satisfied with the theoretical knowledge. Yes, it's quite possible that God is there. Just in case He is there, let's chant Hare Krishna. No, that's not the point of practicing Hare Krishna. The point of practicing Hare Krishna, Atmava Are Drashtavyam. The Atma, God, or soul, depending on which meaning you implied by saying Atma, is worth to be seen. Drashtavyam literally means He is the object of our seeing. He is the proper object. He is the only proper object which will make our life worthwhile. So Atmavare Drashtavyam, but in order to see Atma, in order to be able to see Atma, to develop this ability to see Atma, Shrotavyam, Mantavyam, Nididhyasita. The process is being described very beautifully. First, you have to hear about Atma. First, you have to hear about God. And the special characteristic of this hearing is that you have to hear with space. It means, again, even the hearing should be with a proper mood. The hearing will only change you, will only make difference within yourself if you hear with a specific mood in mind. If you hear with some challenging attitude, if you hear with the desire to find faults in what you hear, if you hear with the desire to somehow or other remember it, hold it in memory, and then pass the exam, this is not what it means, Shrotavyam. First, you have to hear about God, but hearing means you start your journey within this unlimited kingdom of knowledge. Saraswati Puja means on this day we're worshiping the goddess of knowledge, and goddess of knowledge is also goddess of speech. These two things are inseparable, and when we hear the speech, we take the content and we try to take the content inside so that this content of speech would change our nature. That's the easiest, the most direct, and the most beautiful way of changing yourself. Just listening others. If you listen with a proper mood, with a proper understanding, with trust, with this, proper reverence, then the words are going much deeper. When we listen in a normal way, the words, God gave us 2 ears. It's very convenient. It goes into one and it goes from the other. But the real part of healing, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he calls the Vaishnava path is Shrautapada. It's Shrautapandha. It's the path of healing. The real healing is when you hear and it goes from the ear to your heart. And when this vibration is going from your ear to the heart, it changes the heart. The process starts right there when you hear with the proper attitude. When you may not understand anything. Prabhupada was very emphatic about this. He used to give some darshanas in Hindi in Vrindavan. And so many guests would come and he would speak with them naturally in Hindi. And his Western disciples would sit, and at one point, they would decide what is the use, why we're wasting our time. We don't understand anything. What is he talking about? So few Western disciples who were sitting there, they got up exactly like they did at this moment of time. They got up and wanted to walk out. Prabhupada said, "Stop, where are you going?" And they said, "Prabhupada, we don't understand anything." He said, "Anybody see it? Even if you don't understand anything, the vibration goes into your heart." The hearing has another meaning in Vaishnava circles, because Prabhupada himself says that my Guru Maharaj, he spoke very high language. And because he was speaking such a high language, I could hardly understand anything, because it was a very high philosophical discourses. He said, but still I was hearing very diligently, and my Guru Maharaj, he actually noticed it. And he said, look, he's hearing so nicely, it means he will be preaching. It basically means, if he's hearing so nicely, it means that the vibration goes inside and changes unconsciously, without your conscious endeavors. Some very significant process is taking place within your heart when you hear. And you may not remember much. It's not so much necessary. Of course, if you have good memory, if you have good retention power, it's nice, it's important. It's actually a manifestation that you were attentive while you were hearing. But there's much more important, which is taking place when you hear some pravachan, some katha. It's you are connecting with the person who is talking. On a very subtle way, the connection takes place. It's actually what is being described by neuroscience now. The neuroscience says, perhaps you have seen how some animals behave. You probably have seen how the birds fly. There is a flock of birds, and they fly in one direction, and then all of a sudden they fly in a different direction, without speaking to each other. They don't have any strategic planning. No, they're connected on a subtle way. So in a similar way, and there are, perhaps you have seen fishes do the same. There is a few fishes, and they swim in one direction, and then all of a sudden, all of them, they change the course. It basically means that we have the ability to connect ourselves. There is a special kinds of neurons in our brain which are called mirror neurons. When we see at another person, and when we tune up or tune in to the psyche or to the consciousness or to the heart of this other person, then we immediately synchronize with other person. Hearing, the proper hearing from which the spiritual journey starts is then when you hear from a proper source. Prabhupada again and again and again used to emphasize the need to hear from the proper source. And then when you hear from the proper source, you become like the proper source yourself. You hear and then you start preaching. Why you start preaching? Because you realize on a deeper level what you heard. Because you not only got the informational content of the speech, you also got the emotional content of the speech. You also got the consciousness which is behind this speech. And you, in a subtle way, connected with this consciousness. And this consciousness, by the way of this connection, and this is the main way how human beings are supposed to be connected, through the speech, through the hearing, you got some significant changes within your heart. And then when you hear properly, and then mantavyam, then you start thinking in a certain way. Your way of thinking changes. And you start elaborating the ideas which you heard. Actually, the good, successful hearing is that you hear and then you start deepening what you heard yourself. You're trying to confirm what you heard. You're trying to confirm it from your experience or anything else. So that means mantavya. It means you develop the thought which you heard and which you understand, which you received within your heart. It basically means that the seed which is planted within your heart through the hearing process starts growing. Mantavya means you got the seeds through this hearing process and you cultivated the seed within your heart, and the seed starts growing and you start thinking in a certain way. And the thinking in a certain way has to turn into meditation. Nididhyasana means, literally means from the Sanskrit rules, it literally means the desire to think deeply. The desire to meditate. Nididhyasana, this is a special form of Sanskrit Nididhyasitavyam. You know, the Lord, Atma, the Spirit, is worth of being meditated upon. But you only can learn how to meditate if you heard. If you first heard, then you thought about it, you again and again and again, you try to explain to others, and then you start meditating, and meditating basically means that your seeing process changes. We all know this. It works in a very beautiful way. Even the normal, quote-unquote, process of learning is that something which enables you to see what you haven't seen before, what you didn't notice before. Like if you're a good doctor, you could look at somebody and you immediately say he has diabetes. By some very subtle signs, if you're a good doctor, not if you're a normal doctor. Normal doctor, he doesn't look at the patient. He only looks in his blood test results. He's prescribing the blood test with the person. But if you're a good person, you see the person and you see his problems. Why? Because you have special kind of vision. This vision which has been changed initially through the hearing process, then through the process of thinking, and then through the process of meditation. And the process of meditation makes your hearing very acute, makes your vision very acute. It tunes in your vision, and actually this is what also Krishna says in Uddhava Gita, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna says that hearing Madgatha or Madkatha, the topics about myself, is like ointment to the eyes. There is a special ointment Ayurvedic medicine which you put in the eyes, and this ointment enables you to see some subtle things. And Krishna says some sukshma, what is it? I don't remember exactly now the verse, but he says that through the hearing process, you will be able to see something which is sukshma. Sukshma literally means subtle. Sukshma literally means something which you don't see at the moment, at the present moment, because your vision is gross. So the hearing is the process to change our seeing, is the process to change our vision. And therefore, in this verse it is said, Atmavare Drashavyam. First you have to see, ultimately, at the end you have to see. But how you start seeing something which you didn't see before? Just by hearing, and then thinking, and then meditating, and then after meditating, you will see what you didn't see before. So, if we take, this is the more or less general topic, which is appropriate on this day of Saraswati Puja, because if we take all these great acharyas, for example, those acharyas who took birth on this day, Jayadev Goswami is one of them. We all know that Jayadev Goswami is famous for this Gita Govinda. He wrote this Gita Govinda. What is Gita Govinda? Gita Govinda is something which he has seen. It's not that he just sat down, he had a good, meal, and then he yawned a little bit and scratched his head and started writing something. No. This is not the process. This sort of writing has no value whatsoever. He is writing what he is directly seeing. He is seeing these beautiful pastimes of Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan just in front of his eyes. And, the famous story from his life is the proof of it. He's seeing his meditation, how Krishna is going down his head towards Srimati Radharani. And he says, "Oh, please place your lotus feet on my head. Tava pada pallavam udharam." Please, dehi pada pallava udharam. He's begging this. He's writing this because he hears how Krishna begs Srimati Radharani, please, don't hesitate. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, the God, the Supreme Personality of God, creator of all these worlds, the most powerful person, he is just, asking some innocent girl, please put your lotus feet on my head. And he writes it. And then he comes back to his senses and he's looking at what he wrote and he says, no, it's not possible. It cannot be. It cannot be real. And he crosses over this line. He's hesitant to write it because it's too far out. How is it? He's God. He's all powerful. He's Mina Sharira. He's coming like fish, and then Narahari Rupa. He's coming half lion and half man, and he's Kurma Sharira. He's coming like a huge tortoise. He's coming like Ramachandra. He's coming like, Keshava-dhrita, Narahari Rupa, Keshava-dhrita. In the beginning of Gita Govinda, he says, this is God. God who is coming again and again and again. He takes amazing forms. He performs amazing deeds. And then this God is asking somebody, please put your lotus feet on my head. So he crosses it over. And he goes to take bath in Ganga, and in the meantime, Krishna in disguise of Jayadev Goswami comes back, and he sees this line which is crossed over, and he with his own hands writes it. Dehi pada pallava udharam. And Padmavati, the chaste wife of Jayadev Goswami, she's happy because the husband came earlier and she serve his prasadam, his prasadam, and she goes away and she starts eating prasadam. And then the real cousin comes. She said, "What's wrong with you? How come you're eating prasadam before I'm eating prasadam?" He said, "What's wrong with you? You just ate prasadam. There's nothing wrong with me." And then she tells you just came back, and then you came out, and then you're coming back again. And what is my fault? And he goes into his room and he sees that this line is restored by Krishna himself. And he starts crying. But the point I'm trying to make is that, here is somebody who sees this in his meditation, who sees that reality, the spiritual reality, which is unfortunately closed from our eyes, which is not manifest in front of our eyes at this moment of time. Why? Because he successfully went through this process. Because he went through to the end of this process and he sees Atmavari Drashtaryam. He sees Atma, he sees God, and he sees what he's doing because he's completely tuned in. So basically, meditation, when we're talking about this, is the way to connect with the subtle spiritual reality. And this is the only way. And this is the only way to know the truth. Because ultimate truth is spiritual. All these relative truths which are there, which we know, which we learn in this college or that college, this is truth, but they're not absolute truths. They're not even real truths. They're relative truths. There is some truth in these statements, but the ultimate truth is the truth which is always there. The relative truth is that, year 2024, you have this sort of handbooks. In 10 years, the students in this glorious Manipal University will have completely different set of handbooks. Everything will be changed there. That's called relative truth. But Bhagavad Gita will remain the same. That's the beauty. Bhagavad Gita will not change. Even one syllable in Bhagavad Gita won't change. Because that's the absolute truth. It doesn't depend. It's not relative to the time. It's not relative to the place. It's not relative to anything else. And the real knowledge is to understand this constant truth. And this constant truth is not a dogma. It's not that, you have to believe this truth. No. Never you will see, yes, Shraddha, faith, which is not even correct translation of the word Shraddha. Shraddha is the proper attitude by which you can start receiving the knowledge. But it's not the ultimate necessity. If you take Christianity, in Christianity, everything from the beginning to end is just believe. You have to believe. And if you believe, you don't have to do anything else. You believe, you're safe, no problem. You can do whatever you like for the rest of your life. You already believe. It's a completely unscientific approach to reality. The real spirituality means you have to see the truth, and to see the truth, you have to know the process. And yes, faith or Shraddha plays certain role in this process, because to be concentrated on this process, to follow this process diligently, you have to have faith, because you don't have the realization. Initial little faith, as Prabhupada says, he specifically says, little faith is required in the beginning, little faith. Only as much faith as necessary for you to pursue this path of knowledge. But ultimately, you have to understand this, and you have to see with your own eyes. And this is the difference, and this is what we have to learn on this day of Vasanta Panchami. We have to see and be inspired by all these great acharyas, like Vishnupriya Devi. Vishnupriya Devi is also one of those great saintly ladies, devotees who appeared on this day her meditation on Lord Chaitanya was so intense. She used to, when Lord Chaitanya, took sannyas, he left Vishnu-priya, she was hardly 16 years old. She became a widow all of a sudden. But for the rest of her life, and she lived a long life, 80 plus, almost 90 years. She lived for a long time. Every day of her life, she meditated on Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya would appear in her meditation. Externally, from the material point of view, they were separate. Lord Chaitanya was in Puri, he was traveling all over India. She was sitting there in Navadvip. But she was in contact with him because meditation is the way to connect with the spiritual reality, and it's the only way to connect with the spiritual reality. And that's the only way to know the spiritual reality. And that's why we're celebrating this Saraswati Puja. And that's why this goddess of learning, who is teaching us ultimately how to meditate, how to concentrate. Vishnu-priya Devi, she used to chant many, many rounds a day. And whenever she would chant one round of Hare Krishna mantra, she would put aside 1 grain of rice. At the end of the day, she would eat only as many grains of rice, as many rounds she chanted. If we were to eat 16 grains of rice every day, we would be much more skinny than we are today. But that was her meditation, the intensity of her meditation, and she was completely blissful. And when you meditate so intensely, you become less dependent on the material, supply. Like Raghunath Das Goswami, he's another one who took birth on this glorious day, and at the end of his life, he could hardly eat. Not because he was forcing not to eat, but because he didn't need to eat. He was eating, 1 cup of buttermilk every other day, even every day. But because he was completely immersed in the spiritual reality, his dependence on the material supply to maintain his body was also greatly reduced. This is all great advantages of meditation. Meditation is not yet this, of course, meditation is very fashionable word and practice now. Buddhist meditation, Vipassana meditation, Dalai Lama meditation, this meditation, that meditation. 5 minutes a day. This is not meditation. 5 minutes a day is just to take a little nap, from when your mind is too active and too busy, and you have to little relax. Meditation means in a very scientific process which you learn. And we're trying to learn this process by meditating on the sound of Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And this process is actually very deep, because this is the only way to change our vision. This is the only way to transform our vision and to develop spiritual vision. And this is what we believe. We may not experience it at this moment of time, but we definitely believe there is a process. And so many great people in the past already went through this process. And I believe, because I know that this is the truth, because they confirm the truth. When we take the book of Jayadev Goswami, that's the proof that this process works. That's the proof. This is tangible proof. He could see it, and because his seeing was so vivid and so beautiful, he could explained it in his book, and because of this, still people are changing the songs of this book and read this book and being completely immersed into the content of this. So this is the proof that this process works. And this process will work for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, it works. It works. I never thought it would work, but I tried it and it works to a certain extent. So this process works, and this is the process to obtain real knowledge. Not just be limited with the understanding that knowledge means information. This is mockery. Information is not knowledge. Information, if information is the knowledge, then Google is the greatest planet in the world. You all have to take Google because he is the greatest one. Google Maharaj. This is not. This is not knowledge. Knowledge means you see the eternal truths. Or you know the signs of God and you see God as a result of it. You see the soul, you see all the spiritual matter, you see how the law of karma works in reality, how the soul transmigrates from one body to another, and you realize all these truths. And there is only one way to do it. This is through the meditation, and in our case, this is the meditation, the sound of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Hey, I spoke long enough because knowledge is not information. I have to stop now. You don't need more information.
Any questions?
Yeah, maybe. Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful class. One question I had while reading Prabhupada is how we can meditate while reading. So we thought that we have to remember and we have to meditate. But sometimes what happens is reading after 2-3 days and we forget the context of what we are reading. So we have to remember the context and meditate every time. Like how we can improve our reading and remember at the same time.
Context is very important because you can't understand anything without understanding the context. The real understanding is the understanding within the context. If I say, for example, if I say the sun is setting, depending on the context of this phrase may mean so many things. For the shopkeeper, the sun is setting means, I have to close my shop. For the lover, the sun is setting means I have to go for a rendezvous with my beloved. And, there may be so many different meanings in this simple phrase. So, context we have to remember. And in fact, when meditating on the context, meditation means seeing the details within the greater whole. If we only see the details, it's not meditation because you lost the complete vision. If you only see the, vague, schematic image of what you're meditating on, it's also not meditation. Meditation means you see in a very beautiful and detailed way, but within the context of the whole. So you see the details, but you understand the whole. So if we're coming back to the question of what does it mean to meditate on the content of the book, it basically means you have to keep the context, because by knowing the context, you understand the meanings of details. If you lose the context, you lose the meanings of the details. Because again, the details may mean different thing in different contexts. So you keep the context, but then you concentrate on details, and these details within the framework of the complete context will become very, how to say, very prominent parts of your meditation, and it will be very easy for you. You know, details themselves, you will easily lose again. You know, if you don't remember the context, details will be meaningless, and you don't remember. So the general line of, especially it's true for Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it's relatively easy to know, to understand how the topic is being developed there. Still, even there, you have to remember it, because then you will have to, then you will understand why Krishna seemingly repeat same thing again and again and again. He doesn't repeat, because he speaks these things in a different context. And the meaning of this statement will be different because the context is different. But when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam, for sure you have to remember how Srimad Bhagavatam is the complete, wholesome, very, complete and whole, how to say this, unified piece of literature. You have to understand how it developed the topic. Srimad Bhagavatam is amazing. It's very systematically develops the topic, and even if you go without so much understanding, still it will affect your consciousness. But if you understand the meaning of everything, then it will help. That's why I gave some time ago this seminar from 20 plus lectures, 25, the structural review of the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. When I try to show how the themes of Srimad Bhagavatam are being developed very systematically, how you can keep the track of this literature. So both are necessary to concentrate on the details and to see the greater context.
Devotees are on Zoom. Sri Kapu is asking, Maharaj, if vibrations itself is sufficient to transform, then how Shraddha will help in hearing?
Because if the vibration itself is sufficient to transform, how Shraddha helps in hearing. Because Shraddha allows this vibration to go deeper. What happens in the normal hearing process, we have our ego, and ego is the filter. And some sound goes through this filter, and some sound is sifted out. It's not able to penetrate the armor of our ego. Ego is, we don't even understand, but ego is almost always selecting this. This I can agree, this is good, this I don't agree with, this is not good. Of course, now I'm talking about relatively neutral thought. But if I would start talking about husband and wife relationship, which is not neutral at all, or God save me from some political topic where everyone has very strong opinions, then the ego will, reject from the scratch something. So Shraddha is there to ensure that the vibration goes deeper and changes somewhere. Shraddha is is the greatest enemy of ego. Therefore, very egoistic people, very proud people, for them it's very difficult to believe, to trust somebody, to believe somebody. It's usually, even to have shraddha, faith, you have to have certain level of humility. Because shraddha means basically, I don't know everything. I'm not the ultimate authority on all the matters. I may not know something. So that's Shraddha means, yes, I don't understand it, I don't understand how it is, but he knows better. If he says this, I can see, I can look at him, and I feel that he's trustworthy, so I will trust him. He knows better than myself. So Shraddha is actually helping our false ego to become little less and to allow certain vibrations to penetrate the inner core of our mind. Yes.
Atma is being seen. So Atma is being seen, not just logically. So seeing means
Sin means sin.
seeing means imagining.
No, sin means sin.
How
Atma Varya Drashtavya. It's not, I didn't say this. This is Yagyalauki says this. He knows what he's talking about. Sometimes people think that meditation means you imagining things. Meditation means visualization. This is very wrong conception. It's totally modern conception. You visualize it. You sit down, you visualize something, and because you're visualizing something, you're seeing something. No, that's a material process. When we're talking about spiritual process, we are talking about changing our vision to such an extent that this sukshma, this subtle reality, becomes seen through our subtle eyes. We cannot see subtle reality with the gross eyes, but the process of hearing changes our vision as much as how Krishna says to Arjuna, I'm changing your eyes. I'm giving you this divya chaksha. I'm giving this divine eyes to you, by which you will be able to see what you don't see. And all of a sudden, Arjuna sees in one spot everything, the whole universe in one spot. And he doesn't see Krishna at this moment. He only sees his universal form. So it means his vision changed. It's exactly like, not exactly like, but it's something like changing the channels on your TV set. When your TV set is tuned on certain frequency, you see some image, and then you change the channel. And the same TV set, everything is the same, but you see different. Why? Because it's tuned to another frequency. And because it's tuned to another frequency, you see something different than you seen before. So that's basically what is going on, what we're talking about. You change the frequency of your mind, and because you're changing the frequency of your mind, you're changing your ability to see what you see. It's not that, if just imagine you're sitting in front of TV set, and then you're seeing some picture, and then you close your eyes and you say, let's imagine that I see something different. It's not going to satisfy you. You will have to see something different, but for that you need to change the tuning of your mind, of your consciousness, of your heart.
how it will be
See, there are many people who experience near-death experience. They went through NDE experience, near-death experience. And oftentimes, this experience is different in every case, although there are certain patterns which are similar. But oftentimes people say that my vision completely changed. My perception of reality completely changed. The colors which we only see because we have this limited vision, limited eyes with limited abilities, limited mechanism which is there. Now you're leaving your body, and this is what is happening during near-death experience. You're going into another domain. You're not limited with your body, with your present eyes, your present senses. Even Krishna, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains the experience of samadhi, he says, what is samadhi? Samadhi says is the perception of supernatural reality by supernatural senses. You're coming out through the process of concentration in your mind, you're coming out of the limitation of the present senses. And because you're not limited with the present senses, the reality which you see is completely different. Even in this world, there are some people who have different, much more stronger ability to see, and they see much brighter colors. If you have mighty, you have something very blue, whatever. So that's just the change of the vision.
Right meaning for the knowledge, or the operation of the knowledge. My question is like, Bhagavatam 2.8.5, where Varishta Karna Vandre, Svana Bahu Suroruham, Dunoti Samalam Krishna, Salilasya Sharadurata. From my knowledge, I don't have any. Vidya must be this. Like I heard that Krishna will clean all your dirt. You are only self-awareness. So, it helps when anyone hears the proper consciousness, it can help.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the lake of our heart can be cleansed by the process of healing. But again, Prabhupada says that there is a spiritual science of submissive healing. Healing is a scientific process, and you have to learn this science by listening to your spiritual master. Because something which we understand healing may not necessarily be the same, which, it involves the different faculties. And ultimately, what is being described in this verse is that the lake of your heart becomes transparent because there is no disturbance. If there is always disturbance which is coming from the outside world, then you will not be able to see the lotus of Krishna. But in any case, hearing is a powerful process, simple and powerful process, but still there are some certain suffering elements in it.
Talking about Atma seeing Atma, there is generally a concept of I see something outside, seen and the seer. Seer and the seen. So how the seer can see himself? Is it possible or just an experience?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It is said that the mind can see the senses, but senses cannot see the mind. The intelligence can see the mind, but the mind cannot see the intelligence. Atma, the soul, can see the intelligence, but intelligence cannot see the Atma. And Krishna can see Atma, but Atma cannot see. Paramatma can see Atma, but Atma cannot see Paramatma. It goes in this direction. That's true. But if you turn your consciousness towards Krishna, and that's what bhakti process means. Bhakti is the process of turning your consciousness towards Krishna. Now you're being bahirmukha, you're looking outside, your consciousness is extroverted. You become antarmukha, you change your consciousness inside, and then still you cannot see Krishna. But if Krishna is merciful, he can give you the experience of seeing him. So again, it's not the same kind of seeing as we're used to. It's a completely different process of seeing, the seeing by the mercy of Krishna. Our part of the process is that we try to change our consciousness, to turn our consciousness away from the external inside. And then when Krishna wants, he will give us experience. He will give us the eyes to see him. But normally we can't see. If we only count on our own ability, forget it. We will never be able to see. But if he gives, if he wants us to see, then we will be able to see. Okay, I guess that's it. It's already 9 o'clock, and to meditate properly, you have to go to bed early.
Some more questions are there.
I'll come on Saturday. Thank you very much.